because we've got some exciting divisional rounds coming up this week. And of course, Patrick Mahomes hasn't thrown a pass since Christmas. He took some time to heal his ankle. He welcomed a new baby girl as the Chiefs now turn their attention to the Texans in the AFC round. We know the last time these two teams met back in 2019, it was an instant classic. The Chiefs overcame a 24-0 deficit to win en route to the Super Bowl. On the other side of that AFC matchup, we've also got the Bills and the Ravens kicking off on CBS. A lot to talk about. And we had to bring in the best of the best as we welcome one of our voices on CBS. Charles Davis has almost seen it all this postseason. He's seen a lot of these teams. Only the Lions and the Rams, I think, Charles, are the teams you haven't seen to this point. So we are excited to have your knowledge and your insight. Let's start our conversation with the defending champions. Kansas City is coming off that bye. We haven't seen them play in quite some time. We also know Houston's coming off that big win. And the last time I spoke to you, we talked about the Texans and the magic that's kind of been missing this season. It's safe to say they got a little bit of that magic back in the playoff round there. What'd you think, and how were they able to get back to their winning ways?
Haley, part of what happened, I believe, is something that we talked about with DeMeco Ryans, the head coach, and C.J. Stroud, their starting quarterback. They were calloused this year. They were hardened to an extent because last year, let's be honest about it, they got on a roll and it was just one magical carpet ride, wasn't it? No expectations. This team's rolling through a division that isn't all that great, but they're getting great play from a young quarterback, a rookie head coach who's a former player for them, and things just happened really well. Then they got to the playoffs and blew away a team that had blasted them just a few weeks prior in Cleveland and moved on. So they come back this year, a young team. Oh, we're going to be okay. We've got this. But as C.J. Stroud told us, we weren't prepared for being that team, meaning you go from playing every week at the same time, probably 1 o'clock Eastern, to now you play a lot of the bigger games. You're going to play at night. You're going to play on Thursday. You're going to play on Monday. You're going to play at 3:25 or 4:25, depending on what time zone you're in. And he said, we weren't really ready for that. We didn't quite grasp it. But give them credit. In the end of the season, they let it all go, got back to what they wanted to do, and defensively they were terrific against the Chargers, and they put the game on C.J. Stroud's shoulders. He was a point guard distributing against the Chargers, and he did it quite well until they could get Joe Mixon going in the running game. Give him credit for taking momentum and kicking it to the side and reestablishing their own momentum for a single game.
Yeah, we know C.J. Stroud, that 99-yard drive there at the end of the second quarter certainly sparked them, and we know what he's capable of, to your point. If we look at the other side of this matchup, Charles, Kansas City, they are the #1 seed for a reason, and most of it is because of Patrick Mahomes. The offense is always the talking point here, Charles, but I want to talk about the defense because the defense is really what has saved them in big moments here. So now you're going into a game against C.J. Stroud and a Texans team with so much momentum. How important will the Chiefs' defense be in this matchup?
Vital, Haley, absolutely vital. And remember the early Super Bowls, the defense was playing with the 14-0 lead because the offense was so high-powered. The last couple of Super Bowls hasn't been that way for them. The defense has had to be a prominent part, and they'll need to be again against C.J. Stroud, whose team got their mojo going against the Chargers. Remember, they played about a month ago in Kansas City, so they'll see them again. But you like what Kansas City has. Chris Jones should be healthy, playing up front and defensive line. Your linebackers with Bolton and Tranquil and Chanel, really good players. Then you get into the secondary. McDuffie is an all-pro, Pro Bowl type of a player on the corner. They will have to challenge these guys from Houston right out of the gate. Mixon will challenge them in the run game, and C.J. Stroud just moving the ball around to different people. But the big horse is Nico Collins. Will they double him, or will McDuffie just take him man for man the entire game? Can't wait to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, it's just going to be such a fun matchup. And when you think about the pieces as well, it's hard to talk about this game without talking about what Patrick Mahomes has done to this point. And I know that it's been a down year for him in terms of the statistics. But, I mean, Charles, he's not going to win the MVP race, but he could be considered when you think about all he has done. Just what have you thought of Patrick this year and your expectations for him going into a postseason where he has the potential to lead this team to a third Super Bowl title? I mean, my goodness, Charles.
Yeah, it's just a continuation, Haley, of what we've seen over the last couple of seasons with him. And I've talked about it over that time frame where he has ascended to what I call the apex level of quarterbacking, where the statistics are one thing and it's fun throwing for 300 and doing all those fun things. But the bottom line is winning the game. We talked with him earlier this year and he said he'd had a conversation with Tom Brady. where Tom Brady just told him, listen, as time went on, the stats became less and less except for one. Did we win or did we lose? What does my team need from me on that day, from my position, for us to win the game? That's your lesson. And that's what Patrick Mahomes has taken to heart. If the defense is playing great, you play to the defense. If you have to open it up more, you open it up more. What do you have to do in that particular day, in that particular situation, to find a way to have one more point than your opponent? Because that's what you're ultimately judged on as a quarterback. And by the way, he may have had a down year. How many quarterbacks do you know, Haley, would take 26 touchdowns versus 11 interceptions, 16-1 record, and 15-2 overall record, and you go in as the number one seed? I think just about everyone else in the league would take it.
Listen, it's just, I've gotten to the point where Patrick Mahomes, I don't slander him. I don't bet against him. Never. Because he has been so fantastic in his time in the league. By the way, he also has the shortest odds to win Super Bowl MVP at 420. So that tells you how much the rest of the league respects what he does. Our Charles Davis getting us ready for the divisional round. Charles is going to hang out for just a few more minutes because we got to talk about the other side of this matchup on CBS. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and the crew going head-to-head. What more could you want? Charles Davis has a breakdown coming up next. Welcome back to HQ Spotlight. I want to take you back to week 4. Everyone stayed up late to watch the Sunday Night Football showdown between the Bills and the Ravens. Baltimore, if you remember, had a terrible start to the beginning of the season, but then it all started clicking after this game. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry ran all over the Bills defense, handling them their first loss of the season. You fast forward to Sunday, and the MVP favorites are at it again. Jackson with the slight edge in terms of the all-pro voting when it comes to him and Josh Allen. But Allen with a chance to get the revenge, the last laugh, and ultimately the win. It's a game that is happening on CBS as you take a look here at the tail of the playoff tape between the two MVP favorites. We've got our MVP here, Charles Davis, back on Spotlight to give us a preview of this game, Charles, that everyone is looking forward to watching. The Ravens enter this one slightly favored at -1.5. You've got MVP3 favorite Lamar Jackson on track to win that award again. And when we look at his game, Charles, it's interesting, right? Because he won the MVP last year, and even from that moment, he's elevated his game even more, right? He's been improved as well. But I feel like the pieces around him have just been a little bit more comfortable, too. What have you liked about how that side of the ball, the passing and Lamar Jackson, just how they've been able to get to this point?
Haley, you make great points because remember when he was winning MVPs before, they ran the heck out of the football. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. And then you remember when guys would get hurt, people would fill in, they'd sign, and they'd play for a week or two and give them some decent play because, as John Harbaugh says, running the football is in our DNA in Baltimore. But what has helped is Zay Flowers' development as a receiver. Rashad Bateman, a former number 1, now ascending and playing a much better and bigger role. So it's not just throwing it to Mark Andrews. They've now got a variety of people to throw the ball to. Plus, you're handing it to Derrick Henry. Now you fake it to Derrick Henry and keep it. The whole offense has expanded under Todd Monken's guidance as their offensive coordinator.
You mentioned Derrick Henry. It's hard to not talk about his impact on just the entire offense in general. I think it's helped Lamar really open up and play a little bit more free. And I think they've really defined what a 1-2 punch looks like when it's being efficient. We know that in this last matchup, he went off 199 yards. So do we expect to see more of the same when it comes to Derrick Henry running the ball?
Haley, they're going to kick off at 6:30 or 6:30 Eastern time or so on Sunday night. So in Buffalo, I would expect temperatures to be in the single digits at best. That's the type of night that as a defender, especially when you get back to us defensive backs, you're going to question whether you really want to play football when 250-plus pounds is coming at you, carry after carry after carry. I have a feeling Baltimore is going to test it because here's the thing to keep in mind. Buffalo's run defense didn't hold up last time. They play a base 4-2-5, 5 defensive backs on the field at almost all times. Those guys are going to be willing to throw their bodies in there and tackle. I know they're willing, but are they able to slow down Derrick Henry? I think that's how it's going to start. Baltimore's going to test them throughout. Todd Monken's ego is not so big that he's going to throw it around for no reason at all. He's going to make sure number 22 gets his touches, and let's see if they can dent that Buffalo defensive line. This is the way that they did last time.
I mean, I was so almost disappointed that he didn't get to that 2,000-yard mark just because of how well he's playing. You wanted to see that part of his game. but he has really changed the offense. And if we look at the other side of the ball in Baltimore, Charles, the defense has really stepped up too. I know we have a full screen just showing some of the improvements here that I want to talk over here, because the numbers, Charles, they're almost jarring. When you look at the Ravens through week 14, they were allowing almost 265 passing yards per game. And the improvements there over the last couple of weeks, week 15 to 18, they were second in that category. Is there a person, a player, a system change that you can point to that led to that improvement?
I think more system change than anything, Haley, and it starts with Zach Orr, first-year defensive coordinator. They brought back his mentor, the guy he played for, Dean Pease, as a consultant to help out with the defense when they were struggling early. Zach, of course, got his legs underneath him as a coordinator. And they started out with, okay, we're getting dented all the time here. So they started playing a lot of what we call top-down defense. Nothing over your heads, play back, everything in front, rally up and tackle, make the offense run extra plays, they may make an error, et cetera, et cetera. But as time went on, they weren't just playing top-down anymore. Their stars started to come to the front and started to make plays. Marlon Humphrey is an all-pro nickelback. Kyle Hamilton is an all-pro safety. Justin Matabike gets all-pro mention at the defensive line. So, Nnamdi, because it used to be Justin. I want to make sure I get his name correct. Those people now are starting to have a bigger impact on the game. Kyle Van Noy is a veteran outside linebacker, bigger impact. So they went from top down to try and get steady to all of a sudden playing like a Raven again. And now they're shutting people down, and they're playing with extreme confidence as the playoffs roll on.
Just giving Zach Orr a shout out. He went to North Texas, a proud North Texas grad, so we are so proud of him.
Green.
Go Mean Green. That's what we love to see. So we're excited to see that his playing time has sort of transitioned there at the coaching level too. On the other side of this matchup, Charles, raise your hand if you thought the Bills would be here, because I remember when we were all talking about that this is going to be a rebuilding year for Sean McDermott and that Josh Allen was just going to have to get through the season. And yet here they are, and not just here, but they really dominated throughout the regular season as well. And of course, the one consistent has been Josh Allen. I know we talk about Patrick Mahomes and his ability to change the way the Chiefs play. How do you put into context what Josh Allen has done this season?
Well, Haley, all I can tell you is go back and roll the tapes. I picked Buffalo in preseason. Okay, so I picked them to win the division, so I feel fine about this. The other thing that I made a big prediction on was that Josh Allen would have his best season because he was going to emulate Patrick Mahomes and carry a football team that doesn't have stars around him when everyone else was voicing gloom and doom. He was looking forward to the opportunity to be that guy to pull a team along and carry them. Did he have some weapons people don't talk about? Yes. But not to the extent that you would expect. It was similar to Tyreek Hill leaving Kansas City and people wondering what Mahomes would do. Well, they've won 2 Super Bowls since then. Now, Stephon Diggs leaves, Gabe Davis leaves, Khalil Shakir steps up, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, throw it out of the backfield to James Cook. Do what you have to do to make plays. And Josh Allen, of course, looking like a Triple Crown horse when he goes. I said he looked like War Admiral. I talked with a good friend of mine and said, forget that. He's Justified, who won the Triple Crown going away. And that's what he has done this year. So, yes, I picked him in preseason. I thought Allen would have his best season, and he has done it. So I feel good about getting one thing right this year, Haley. Not many others, but I got that one right.
We got this one, and you know his offensive lineman, Dion Dawkins, echoes your sentiments. He said that this is the best he's seen Josh Allen, this is the best he's seen Sean McDermott, and really this is the best he's seen out of this team to this point. But I want to give some credit to Dion Dawkins and that offensive line because they have protected Josh Allen this season. It's part of the reason why he's been so successful. He's taken just 14 sacks this season. It seems silly to ask you, Charles, but how important has that offensive line been to the success of this team this year?
They've been beyond important because it's not just Dion Dawkins, who is a Pro Bowl left tackle. Spencer Brown has improved his pass protection on the right side, always been a mauler. Torrance at guard, Mauler coming out of college. If it's going straight ahead, he's going to road grade you. We call him an APM, an automated people mover. All right. McGovern in at his natural position at center. So they've done a magnificent job coming together as an offensive line and being that group that you look to carry a football team. And they are thrilled to do anything they can to make sure Josh Allen has the opportunity to operate, and he's done it quite well.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just writing that down. Automated people mover. We're going to have to work that into our conversations. I love that. Okay, so the automatic people movers have been working well. The quarterback's been working well. The defense here has really been clicking as of late, too. The only problem is, Charles, when you look at this last meeting between the Ravens and the Bills, it wasn't pretty for the defense. They gave up 35 points, 427 total yards. I mentioned Derrick Henry as well, almost hit that 200 mark on the ground. So all the things we just talked about with this Ravens offense and the challenges they present, how do the Bills contain it?
Run defense, run defense, run defense, which starts up front. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones. Can they slow people down inside? All right, that's going to be the big one right there. Greg Rousseau looks like just an elite pass rusher coming off the edge, but with his long arms, he can control offensive tackles and stand there firm in the run game. He'll need to do that as well, because you want to make sure Terrell Bernard and the linebackers, Matt Milano, are clean in front and can just run to the football and make those big hits that they're going to have to make against Derrick Henry. All right, he's going to test your will each and every time he carries the football, because behind him, 5 defensive backs. And then we always talk about offensive linemen saying, hey, if we can block it up where defensive backs have to tackle the entire game, we like our odds, especially with a guy like Derrick Henry. So let's see how that goes for them. Bottom line is run defense for the Bills first, foremost, and always. And can they hold in there the entire game in these types of weather conditions that the Bills Mafia is going to love? But I can tell you, as a former player, not a lot of fun when you got to tackle 250 pounds of fury time after time and the temperature's getting down near single digits.
You're going to have a strong mentality out there for that game. It is so exciting, and we can't wait. And now we're all prepared, thanks to our conversation with you, our Charles Davis, breaking down the divisional round in the NFL playoffs. Charles, always so good to chat with you, my friend. He spent a lot of time on the call this year for us. Coming up this weekend, it is Jim, it is Tony, it is Tracy, it is the Bills and the Ravens, and it all kicks off at 6:30 on Sunday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.